and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest-running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocket.radio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
Alrighty, it is Coffee Ann here on ON AM and FM. Thanks for joining us. It's Thursday morning. It's July 11th. And I'm Joe Callahan. At the Coffee Ann table, we'll say good morning to Attorney Bob Lauder. Hi, Bob.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Nice to have you here with us. And Woonsocket Mayor Chris Beauchamp is here. Hey, Mayor, how are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. Good to be here.
Nice to have you here with us today. Sue Tessie McKenzie could not be with us today. Other things came up. But she should be joining us next week. And before we get to the mayor, I just want to mention to you, Bob, that we're very excited in the family because my daughter jumps into the judicial system as of today. She's not in any trouble.
Okay, she's okay.
Chris,
She's not a defendant.
She's got jury duty.
Oh,
Oh,
great!
she passed the bar or something.
No, she's only 18.
Oh, all right.
As I mentioned before, you know, she when she got her driver's license in Mass, they say, "Oh, do you want to be you want to vote too? You want to be a registered voter? Yeah, check that box off." And as soon as you check that box off, it goes down to the courthouse. Oh, we have a new jury person that we can pick from.
Person.
And then, man, immediately,
Wow.
she got called, and she was supposed to go in January, and she goes, and it was like January 10th. She goes, "I got school," and I said, "Don't worry, in Mass,
Okay.
they let you push it off once."
All right.
And so that's what you do. Go online and say, nah, this day works better for me. And I said, push it out to the summer. School will be done. You don't have to worry about snow and bad driving conditions. It'll be better. So, okay. So she picked July 11th. So today's the day.
Great.
So she should actually be there now. Because of where we are in Massachusetts, she got called to go to Taunton trial court. So.
Interesting.
So we'll see. It'll be her first time. She goes, I said, and I've asked Bob before, Chris. I said, if you're the lawyer, and Bob doesn't do criminal, but he did. But if you're the lawyer and you're looking at your jury pool and you see this 18-year-old girl, okay, you can go. He said, she's got no life experience at anything, but
Probably true.
She's an adult, and that's just the way it is, and she's there.
Well, they also may feel that she's better than having her preempted off the jury and getting somebody else that they can't preempt.
Right, and it all depends on what the case is, and maybe they want someone that could be, like the defense would have some sympathy for an 18-year-old defendant. Quite possibly, so. Anyway, so that's what's going on today, so I'll have to find out how it went down there.
Well, of course, if
like
she's
that.
selected and she's on a jury, you can't talk to her about the case until
Well,
it's
that's
over.
true. Yeah, that's true. Mass does it different than Rhode Island. They always tell you it's either one day or one trial. If you don't get if you don't get impaneled today, you're done for 3 years. You're all set. But if you get put on the trial, you're there for the trial, and that's just the way it works. And then you'll be done for 3 years.
I think Rhode Island is 2 days. But
Is it 2?
Yeah, I
oh,
think
okay.
so.
We like the 1 day, one trial thing. And I did say, oh, by the way, when the judge walks into any room, not just the courtroom, someone will announce, "All rise." I said, "You better stand up." Or they'll be, "Hey, you, you're not standing for the judge." All right, so Chris Beauchamp is here, and if you have any comments or questions for the mayor, please give us a call, 766-1240. We'll pass along the notes to him. We'll read it to him, and he can always answer. First thing, right off the bat, I saw a picture on Facebook this morning. It was probably taken a day or so ago, but you were part of the picture, passing along opioid money to Blackstone Valley Prevention Coalition.
Correct.
Where did that money come from, and how much was it, and what are they going to do with it?
It was $100,000 for the initial allotment, and it was from our opioid settlement money that Woonsocket was a part of. I think 3-4 years ago that started. I think we got a total of $429,000. So we reached out to various community partners that would deal with this situations with the opioid epidemic, and we vetted who we thought we should give it to. And the reason why we gave it just 100 of the 400, we want to make sure there's tangible results to follow the money, to make sure it's going to what it's supposed to be going for. and we thought Lisa Casafaro and her organization would be a good start to, give that first allotment, and that's what we did. And they came up and got the check earlier this week, I think Monday, and we'll see where it goes from there. And if everything goes smoothly, which I expect it will, we have more money to give out to help that epidemic.
What are they actually proposing to do with the money?
So, one of the misnomers that I thought was that, the opioid epidemic affects everybody. And there are people that go to work every day, and they have jobs, and they're respected in the community, but they unfortunately fell on some injury or something happened, and they got addicted to pain pills or whatever. And the opioid epidemic was really terrible, and it affected a lot of people. So it's not the misnomer was people that, was people that are addicted to drugs and this and that. It can happen to anybody and everybody, and it does. So they're targeting the Woonsocket schools. There are kids and parents and maybe even teachers and administrators who we don't know that may be affected by this in their families, and that's what they're going to target. And I think it's a good start. It's a training too, to train and to teach people. If you think somebody has a problem, this is where you go, this is where you get help, and then they'll follow up with that type of procedure.
So it's going to be some type of counseling they do on a one-to-one basis almost.
Counseling, getting them to proper doctors, to proper maybe psychologists, all that stuff, mental health, even if they're, away from their addiction, they still maybe need mental health clinicians to talk to and whatnot. So it's a whole range of things, and I think they've been doing that for a long time, the Blackstone Valley Coalition, dealing with this type of problem. So I think it was a good place to put the money.
If one of the people who are suffering in this way actually needed counseling through psychologists, are they going to be able to pay for the psychologist, or are they just going to be able to make the contact and have them take it from
I think
there?
it's a little bit of both. Obviously, $100,000 is not a ton of money, but I think you could get some people, 2 or 3 sessions if you need to, or direct them to somebody where they could maybe reduce the payment somehow. So there's a wide range of things that they can do, and they'll give us a report to the city council, and I'll get it, about what they've been doing, where their money's been spent, who it's been spent with, and that's what we're looking for.
Great.
Yeah.
And good news, because we had the story today. Something must be working, because the overdose deaths in Rhode Island have declined for the first time in 4 years.
That's great news.
Still, a lot of people died. 404 people succumbed in 2023, but it was 436 in 2022. So at least it's going in the right direction.
It goes in that direction. We are accomplishing something.
Yep. All right, Chris, we want you to comment on, especially this, Woonsocket Police capturing their guy that they wanted in that hit-and-run accident, which turned into a fatal hit-and-run accident.
Yeah, it's, again, great police work. They work very hard. I look at the Valley Breeze today, and, the police chief is talking about, despite their shortage in staff, what they get accomplished. Mm-hmm. And, that's a credit to all the men and women that work there. Obviously, it's a very dangerous job, and you put your life in your hands every day, whether it's a traffic stop or something terrible like this. Mm-hmm. But they got this guy within a week or so, I believe. So It's a great police work, and I think they were shared with Pawtucket Police possibly. So
great collaboration.
Collaboration with other departments, and that's the way it should work.
And that was a dangerous stop. He was not alone in the car that they stopped. Pawtucket Police stopped, and guns were drawn.
Yeah, very dangerous. So, very dangerous. So
kudos to Pawtucket and to Woonsocket for
guns were drawn by the people in the vehicle.
No, by the police when they were pulling them over.
Okay,
because they were worried about a dangerousness situation. So there's that situation, and over the last couple of days, we've gotten a couple of press releases from Woonsocket Police showing about Andrew Martin being arrested, but also showing about the shooting suspects. Now, are you made aware that these are going to go out ahead of time?
So I get text every morning from the overnight shift from the public safety director about what's happening in public safety. Mm-hmm. And emails, I should say. And I look at them, not every single one of them. And if there's something that's, like this poor individual that got hit and run over, they give me a call because somebody was killed.
Right,
And they knew right away when it was hit, it was a serious situation that it did not look good. So they just abreast me of what's happening, and I let them do their work. I don't, get involved in that at all as far as, what can I do? Do you need me? No, it's not the mayor's position. But being that, you're the head of the city, they let you know what's going on. And it's good to know that information because other people may ask me, what's happening with this situation or that
And you
situation.
should be informed about
Yeah.
it. So.
So I am, and, I appreciate them keeping me abreast of things.
Did you see the photos of that they just released of the shooting suspect?
I
they're
saw
looking
those
for?
earlier.
Is what the guy is
yeah.
carrying the gun. Right in
He's
his hand.
actually
I'm like,
running in
wow.
the neighborhood in Mason
Yeah.
Street carrying the gun. Very scary situation.
Yes. Wow.
So if anybody can recognize that individual, please contact the Woonsocket Police Department. You do not have to give your name or anything like that, and we'd appreciate it.
All right. Other things going on here in the city, Mayor. The YMCA pool. What is the latest on that? Have you raised enough money? Where do things stand?
We haven't raised enough money, but we're still doing that. And coincidentally, I had a very good meeting yesterday with CVS finally. And we broached the subject of the wide pool and their philanthropy organization that they have can only give money to 501Cs.
Right.
And I understand that. So they're going to put me in touch with the people that run that. They did give us, or we did have $100,000 from them that we did not use to build a playground in the Oak Grove section of the city. I think the former administration had kind of coordinated that with them. I was on the council last year, and it never materialized. So that money is still there, that $100,000, I believe. We could use it for something else. The wide pool is still in the ownership of the YMCA, the prospective buyer of the building. I don't think that materialized as of last week, unfortunately. So I did have a call with the Y yesterday prior to CVS, and they said anything they can do to help, keep this thing going, they will, meaning they could be a partner if we own the building, and then we could coordinate with CVS, hopefully to help staff and run it, and that's what we're trying to do.
Does the city want to get involved in ownership of something like this?
We do and we don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to keep the pool viable, but if we own the building and we're not paying a rent for it, and we just got to keep up with the maintenance and the staffing that the Y would give us, but we'd have to pay them, I think that's the proper avenue to go. That's their lane, if you will. I've been talking to Hockomock Y in Massachusetts, Smithfield Y. We still have people, dribs and drabs of money coming into the GoFundMe page. So, I mean, we still have momentum. It's petered a little bit, but I'm not forgetting it.
Okay. This might seem like a naive question, but is the city a 501c3 organization?
I don't believe we are.
Okay.
Otherwise, they would have said, we can give you the
So you
money.
say, here you go.
Yeah. So, no. So I will find out, but the YMCA, if they were the people running the pool, the money would go directly to them. I think I'm going to talk to the council people on Monday night, potentially of giving some ARPA money to do some renovations to the building. But we can't do that if we don't own it,
Right.
unless we get permission. So that's a little bit up in the air still, but I know that they went in and put chemicals in about a week ago or so. The pool looks great. It's very clean. It's being kept up, and that's important.
All right, we're going to take our first break here in the Coffee and program. More coming your way. Just a reminder that Mayor Chris Beauchamp needs to leave at 8:30. So any comments or questions, you got about 15 minutes to get them in before the mayor has to leave for the day. All right, more of the Coffee and program coming your way. Comments or questions can be called in at 766-1240.
Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse offers authentic homemade Polish food to make your next meal special. Try our many varieties of hot and fresh pierogies with onions and what they call dirty sour cream. Or pick up golubki, kielbasa, babkas, or some fresh rye bread. We also offer a large selection of specialty and imported foods. Open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 9 in the morning till 6 p.m., Wednesdays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays from 8 to 5 p.m. It's Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse. Follow us on Facebook and learn about our weekly specials. Located at 855 Social Street, Woonsocket, Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse has all the authentic Polish foods you love.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee Roasters. All their coffee is roasted right here in Rhode Island. Down East Coffee Roasters is available at all Little General stores.
Have you heard of Scott McGee with Remax Properties? He's been selling real estate in Rhode Island and Massachusetts for the last 17 years, and you can see that he loves what he does. Scott, as well as his team, take pride in what they call the fair and honest team. No gimmicks. And no, they're not buying your house if it doesn't sell, etc. Just fair and honest real estate. Scott personally works with tons of sellers and buyers and specializes in residential properties as well as commercial, and he's always very fair and offers super competitive rates. Remember, this is probably the biggest move in dollars that you will ever spend or receive. You want to go with a trusted and experienced agent. Scott is fair, honest, and modest, always puts the clients first. And he also dealt with literally almost any situation. You really need to look at your real estate needs as a business. You want to pay and get the right money now so that you're not paying for it later. Trust me. So why not give Scott McGee a call at 401-639-2906. That's 401-639-2906.
This portion of Coffee and is sponsored by the Blackstone Valley Call-In Times.
Whether you own a restaurant or an auto repair shop, you need as many customers as you can get. Every business does. Don't limit yourself to one newspaper. Get the power of 2 daily newspapers for the price of 1. The Blackstone Valley's Call-In Times deliver customers from all over the valley with just one phone call. Phone 767-8500 for twice the effectiveness over twice the area. The Call and the Times.
It's Coffee and on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here with Bob Lauder, and Woonsocket Mayor Chris Beauchamp is here as well. And can you announce publicly the news you just got about the building?
So it's not official yet, but it's very close that a developer's come in and looking at the building across the street from the stadium, which is 2 Monument Square. It's actually where I have my headquarters. I'm renting space there.
They're going to kick
And-
you out.
Well, they may, but they're looking into doing something there that will enhance the overall downtown restaurant experience, if you will,
Okay.
and opening something that when you come out of the stadium, you can come for maybe like a coffee and a dessert, espresso, so you're not leaving the city right after you come out of the stadium, which I think is a great idea. It's still in the works, but that's the scuttlebutt that I hear that they're looking to do. And I hope that the deal gets closed very soon, and I think it will, and it's another good thing for the city of Woonsocket.
What was the name of the cafe that was there that burnt down, Bob?
Well, next to the building that the mayor's talking about, there
Yeah.
used to be about a 3 or 4 story building from the 1880s. It was the Monument Cafe. Then there was the Shamrock Lounge.
Shamrock Lounge, yep. And then the building at 2 Monument Square now has commercial space on the bottom floor.
Yep.
And then there was dentist office, Dr. Touchette was there for 62 years. So they like the building, they like the location. I took them in for a tour of the Stadium Theater, and when they were here a month ago, they were very impressed, and they're moving, which is good news.
All right, that's great.
The area's
That's,
changed a lot because
Yeah.
some of us remember still the St. James Hotel, which was down on what's now part of Ciro's parking lot.
wow.
And St. James Hotel was about 4 stories tall, and over the years its reputation had sort of slid
Sullied.
into. Well, you get 2 minutes, I'll tell you one
Yeah.
story. We had a client came from, her husband had gotten a job at Taft Pierce, and they came from Scotland. This goes back into the 1970s. And they were moving from here. They didn't have accommodations, and so the Taft Pierce company said, well, we'll put you up in the St. James Hotel for a few days.
All right.
And they did. And the wife of the individual said, you know, I was amazed at how pleasant and nice so many men came up to me in the lobby and were talking to me. And then I realized what was going on upstairs.
Gee, what was going on?
Especially with that accent, maybe, right?
All right, the good old days. Anyway, back into the present time.
Is there any update in the city about? Because you just seem to be whenever you drive around the city, eventually you're going to run into road construction somewhere. And so, where are we on road construction in the city?
So Mendon Road, which is the DOT project, the gas company is still doing their work there. I think they're doing the services to the residents and the commercial buildings. I think the main is done in the road. The contractor is putting in curbing and sidewalks right behind them. And that road should be paved, I'm told, by September. So they're gonna mill off the asphalt and repave the road, and that will be done. Parky's Drive is done. They did a beautiful job up to the CVS Highland Industrial Park. The city put that out to bid. We just had another bid for Division Street, which is over near Mount St. Charles. I believe that's gonna be awarded in the council meeting on Monday night. So that road, and then, we have opera money left. We're gonna put out bids for many more roads in the city of Woonsocket that we need attention. I put a call into the council president, John Moore, to ask all the council people to kind of generate a little list in their neighborhoods, if you will, of streets that are in disrepair. And if they're not on the gas company list street, maybe we can look at them depending on the severity. So we get a lot of things happening with the paving of streets and fixing of streets because it never ends.
Oh, right.
It never ends. And as far as that, they're still doing work on Hamlet Avenue with the gas company there. So we get a report from the gas company, and I'll share it with the council people on Monday night if I can, and let us know where they're doing and what streets they're doing next.
Okay. I haven't been detoured on Hamlin Avenue in a while, but is that still going to continue?
I believe they're done on Hamlet Avenue. They're doing some of the side streets, Morton, I believe, and a couple other side streets that the gas company has to go up to Carrington. So they got a little bit more work there, but I think Hamlet's pretty much done for the main.
Yeah.
There may be some service work they got to do, but you got to let the streets settle for a period of time before we can get in there and do final restoration.
Can they pave when it's over 90 degrees, when it's that hot,
I've
that
paved-
humid?
I've paved when it's over 90 degrees. It's not a pleasant thing to do, believe me.
I bet
The
not.
asphalt's 325 degrees
Anyway, yeah,
by itself.
yeah,
And then you have, that steam coming up at you.
yeah.
But after, 43 years of doing stuff like that, you kind of get immune to some of that stuff. But you got to drink plenty of water. You take salt pills. There's a lot of
Yeah.
things you got to do because heat exhaustion is a real thing.
But does the asphalt adhere
Oh,
when
yeah.
it's that hot?
Yeah, it's better when it's warm.
Okay.
It's better because it adheres to the existing pavement that you're putting it into.
Yeah.
It kind of binds itself to it. So paving in that warm weather is always the best thing.
Okay. We had a story a couple days ago. It's not around here, but in Vegas, the hospital out there has treated 24 people to what is called pavement burns. And what they're doing is when they walk from, they think we'll make it from this casino to that casino, so they go outside and walk, but it's 110 degrees outside, and who knows what they've been drinking inside this casino, and they go outside and they faint,
Yeah.
and then they land on the pavement, but they don't wake up, and now their face is on the hot pavement, which is probably 120 degrees, and they're getting burned.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Just
It is that bad.
asphalt retains the heat on a
Yeah.
95-degree humid day. If you're walking barefoot, you're going to be in trouble on asphalt.
Yeah.
You could burn your feet very quickly. And just to touch the asphalt, as Joe said, it's probably 130, 135 degrees
Wow.
just
So
from
that-
the sun.
So that old adage, you can fry an egg on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
You can. So that's pretty bad. Anything new to report on public safety building?
We do have an ordinance together for Monday night's council meeting to award a contract to a company that is going to put a bid together for the new public safety complex. It was a consultant that we came and he looked at the overall footprints of both fire stations and the police stations. And if it gets approved by the council, which I'm hopeful it will, this company will put together an RFP to put out to bid, plans and all that. That's probably not going to happen till the spring or summer of next year because it's going to take time to generate, design, and build those plans. And once we have that, we'll go out to a bid next year sometime and get this thing rolling.
Still looking at the Social Street
Yeah,
part?
yeah.
Okay.
Boulay Field is the best spot for it. We have 3 or 4 people interested in the All Saints property. I think we're going to have some dialogue with that with the council next week. And we got 2 or 3 bids, like I said. We need to move on that parcel of land, and that's what we're gonna do, because that's only 2 acres, as I said, I think last time at All Saints. It's not big enough to put a police station and 2 fire stations.
All right.
And so that's
If they
what we'll
use
do.
Boulay Field, where's the access going to be from?
It'll be both from Elbow Street, which is behind
Right.
St. Germain Manor, and on Clinton Street. So you could
Social Street.
Social Street. You come in and out. So right where the Castle Luncheon Inn is,
Right.
that's going to be the main entrance in and
Oh,
out.
okay, fine.
So does the city take the castle by eminent domain, or do you have to
No,
purchase it?
we are in negotiations to purchase that. That's part of the $2 million that I'm going to amend the ordinance. It was $5 million for the public safety complex. I'm going to have it amended to $2 million, so we can use that $2 million to buy the building, hire this consultant, put plans together, an architect, and we'll get the ball rolling.
All right. On either side of what was the Castle Luncheonette, we got the Elks on one side, and you got that car wash. It's on the other side. Are they safe?
Neither property is being
being touched there?
touched. No,
Okay.
ours is EA Maku, which is further down.
Yep.
They're remaining. I went and had a nice conversation with the gentleman about a week ago, and I told him of our plans and desires, and he was happy because he wants to remain in business.
I'm sure he does.
They've been there for, I think, 76 years, something
Yeah.
like that.
Wow.
Third generation. So I'm going to highlight, and I'll just say this quickly before I leave, you know, legacy businesses that have been here 50 years or more. We have probably 30 to 40 of them, maybe more.
Mm-hmm.
And I am going to do a little expose on these businesses that have been here, because they're the businesses that made Woonsocket what it is today. And we love new businesses coming in, like I mentioned earlier, for 2 Monument Square and doing something. But the Boschman Lumbers, the Pepin Lumbers, the Yield English, Friends Foundry that I went and visited on East School Street, EA Maku, I mean, I could go on and on, right? Obviously CVS, people like that. I want to highlight what they've done for the years they've been here, the generations of family people that are working there. And I think it's important to recognize them, because they've invested tons of time, money, sweat, equity, and I think it's important to recognize them. And we're going to do that.
Sounds great.
All right. Before you leave, is there any updates on Cass Park?
Cass Park, I was in there this morning at 6:30. They're putting up the wall where the old Hokan restaurant was. That's going up great. We've graded the whole complex. It's subgraded, ready for a bid and a contractor. The bids, I think, will be ready by the end of July to go out to bid. We'll solicit bids, and I think by September we'll have somebody working and building the field.
All right. Very good. Well, the mayor's got to get to what do you have? 7 meetings today?
Redevelopment Agency.
All right. He's got to get going. So thanks for coming in. We won't see you again until after the election. So best of luck in your campaign
I appreciate
to be reelected.
You guys have a great day.
You as
Thank
well.
you.
Chris.
Hope you do too.
Thank you very much. This portion of Coffee In has been sponsored by the Blackstone Valley Call-in Times.
You've heard it before. The world is getting smaller. Places you had to travel to years ago now seem right next door. It's no surprise, then, that all the communities of the Blackstone Valley have so much in common these days that we share common interests. Keeping up with this trend, the Blackstone Valley's 2 daily newspapers, The Call and The Times, have joined forces to cover the entire valley in one convenient newspaper. The Blackstone Valley's Call and Times, a paper for the entire valley. At your local store, honor box, or home delivery, 767-8522. Think it's too hot to cook? Let Chan's do the cooking tonight. Dine in the comfort of our air-conditioned dining room, or enjoy a refreshing Mai Tai or Scorpion Bowl at the Horseshoe Bar Lounge. Karaoke party with WRIK tonight, 6:30 to 9:30, and Friday and Saturday from 8 to 11. Takeout, delivery. Call Chan's at 765-1900. Oh, and remember Chan's Entertainment. Now tomorrow night, Friday the 12th, Jeff Pitchell and Texas Flood, 8 p.m. Special guest, Baron Raymond, saxophonist of the Rod Stewart Band. Then on Saturday, the 13th, Early Times. It's the debut of the knowledgeable host of Sirius XM Bluesville, the talented Early Times and his Rockin' Blues Band at Chan's 267 Main Street in Woonsocket. For an Allstate agent, providing protection options that fit your life is something they take, well, personally. Allstate agents are committed to learning about your needs and helping customize protection to meet them. From bundling your home and auto insurance with ease to evaluating optional coverage, your Allstate agent can help build an insurance proposal that fits your life. And just as important as learning what you need is learning what you don't. Because helping you get coverage you want with savings you deserve is what Allstate is all about. It's time to get coverage that's catered to you. Are you in good hands? Call Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. One agency, two locations in North Smithfield and Bellingham. One telephone number, 765-5000. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Allstate Property and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Hey, it's ON Radio's Cruisin' Bruce Palmer, and I'd love to have you join me every Saturday for the Saturday Block Party. We start at 4 o'clock when I open up the ON Music Vault for you to pick whatever you want to hear or send to somebody special. Yes, the good old radio request days are back. Join me for the Saturday Block Party, Saturdays from 4 until 7 on ON Radio and streaming online at woonsocketradio.com.
It is Coffee and on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us on Thursday morning. It is July 11th. I'm Joe Callahan. Bob Lauder's right over there. Hi, Bob.
Good morning. Good to
And
be with you.
the mayor had to leave early. He's got the meetings to get to. Dave Richards is joining us. Hi, Dave.
Oh, hey, how are ya?
This portion of Coffee and sponsored by attorney Bob Lauder. So let's get a first message from your law office, please, Bob.
Thank you. Good morning. This is Attorney Bob Lauder. Just to test Joe Callahan's trivia knowledge,
All right.
I'd like to start off with this. What was a knight without armor in a savage land?
I don't know.
Oh my goodness,
I don't
man.
know. A knight without armor in Savage Land?
Okay. For those of us who are a little bit more attuned to trivia, it was part of the Have Gun Will Travel slogan from
Oh.
a television show that ran between 1957 and 1964.
I was born in 66, Bob.
Well, hey, you know, man, I thought you'd be right on top
All
of
right,
this
go
stuff.
ahead.
Wasn't
Okay.
Richard Boone part of that, Paladin? But didn't he play Paladin? Was
Yes.
it Richard Boone, the actor?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And it was also the basis for a case that was known as DaCosta versus the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Uh-oh.
The case had an interesting history of appeals from the federal court to the Circuit Court of Appeals to the United States Supreme Court and back to the Circuit Court of Appeals. The issue arose when a man claimed that during the early 1950s he developed a character in the form of a cowboy dressed in black who would make public appearances at rodeos and other events, meeting children and passing out cards inscribed with a picture of a chess set and the night words, "Have Gun Will Travel, Wire Paladin." The main character of the television program was similarly dressed and featured cards with the same slogan. The man sued Columbia, seeking financial damages based upon the claim that Columbia had violated his common law copyright. At a jury trial in the federal district court, the jury found for the plaintiff. However, the case was appealed to the Federal Circuit Court of Appeals, then to the Supreme Court, and went back to the Federal Circuit Court. Here, the justices sided with Columbia. They found that the printed cards and the photographs of the plaintiff, attired in the black, could have been deliberately copyrighted, but the plaintiff had not done so. The court went on to determine that whether or not the plaintiff was entitled to protection from unfair competition arising from trade and service mark infringement. The court found that the plaintiff had not sought anything other than to entertain the children from his performances, and he had not met the standards of commercialism. The court finally ruled that although the plaintiff had lost something of value to him, the uniqueness of his creation, he was not injured financially, and the court could not award him damages. Columbia had not violated common law service mark infringements, nor engaged in unfair competition. If you'd like to discuss legal matters with my office, please call me for an appointment. My name is Bob Lauder. My telephone number is 762-4550. And the disclaimer, the Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license or certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice. Thank you.
I actually agree with that one, Bob. That CBS was right.
Okay,
and
good.
Not, and not the other guy.
But-
So.
Wait
I
a
was
minute.
involved in one of those.
You were?
Yes, absolutely, but it never came to court.
Ah.
Someone else took something that I had put out on the radio. They put it in a film. I looked at it and I said to myself, "Hey,
Hey,
go
that's ours."
figure." Well, the fact is that really it didn't financially damage me or anything like that. But I backed down using it because now they had a more conspicuous use than I had on the little radio station in Rhode Island. They had published a film nationally that used it. I said, they're the ones that are going to get damaged if I press. So I'll back down. And I did. But yeah, you're right. I knew that law and that case because I lived it.
Wow. Now, your brother has beaten you in sports trivia, and the humble guy sitting across from you actually was able to come up with something in television trivia that you did. Man,
Have gun will travel
you-
is tough.
you're going to be
It's-
walking out of here with your head in your basket.
The show was off the air before he was on the planet, Bob.
I know, that's,
you know. Yeah.
that's
I
a
remember
tou-
it.
that's a
You
tough
remember
one.
it. He don't.
I mean,
Okay.
I know the Lone Ranger, and
Wow, man.
Oh, because they were broadcast
well,
afterwards.
That's right. Yeah.
Paladin
That
did
made
not
it syndication.
enjoy the syndication
Yeah.
that others did.
It wasn't a Gilligan's Island kind of thing, you know, where everybody saw it.
I don't know,
You want to
man.
hurry up
I-
because I'm
I'd
missing
be-
Gilligan's Island
I'd
right
be
now. It's
walking
on
low
Sun
and
Channel.
talking small.
All right, Bob. We got to get your opinion on this because
Uh-oh.
you're the lawyer. Holy
great.
cow! 4 jurors have come forward
Oh God.
in the Karen Reed trial, all saying, "Oh yeah, we all agreed she didn't do it."
We unanimously vindicated
Yeah.
this person on 2 of the 3 counts, and the judge ignored it.
Yeah.
No, the judge didn't ignore it.
Oh, didn't
They came back and told the judge that they were deadlocked and they
Right.
couldn't come up with a decision. They didn't tell the judge that they had a decision on 2 of the 3 counts.
Well, why wouldn't they tell the judge that?
I don't know, but they
Okay.
didn't. And now, in retrospect, people saying, "Well, I was going to vote this way," I don't think that holds a whole lot of water. No,
So did they think the judge was going to turn around and ask them, "Well, where is it on count 1, and where is it on count 2, and count 3?" I think there were 3. And well, the judge didn't do that. Also, all the judge sees, "Okay, I'm deadlocked. Okay, mistrial."
well, the judge
No,
sent
she
them
didn't.
back.
She refused it a couple times.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she sent them back with what they refer to as the dynamite instruction.
Right.
Which is basically to base your decision on the facts and not upon emotional issues that you may have seen arise in the case. And they still came back and said, "We're deadlocked." They didn't tell the judge that they had verdicts on anything. So I don't think that the judge made a mistake in saying, "Okay, if you're deadlocked, you can't decide on the issues. We'll call it a mistrial."
See, since we weren't there, I wonder if the judge gave the jury during instructions, tell us if you've reached a verdict on one count or another, or just it's across the board kind of thing.
I don't know what those particular instructions were, but I would expect that the judge would say, "Okay, here's charge 1. This is what the allegations
Well,
are."
there's a form that the foreman will fill out,
Right.
and it's got the 3 charges on
Right.
it.
And then the judge will say, "This is what the law says on each of these charges. How you determine whether or not a person is guilty of this charge, you have to find they violated this section of the law." It doesn't go into detail about what the testimony was. It just talks about the law. And as Dave was saying, they have the jury instructions and they have a form that they fill out and they send back to the judge. If they say, "Okay, on count 1, we find the plaintiff not guilty," they should fill that out and send it. But apparently they didn't.
Wow.
They just said to the judge, "We're deadlocked." And I think that retrospect decisions by members of the jury that they would have voted one way or another is not going to hold a whole lot of water in this.
When they all get together on July 22nd, the judge and the prosecutor and the defense, if they do decide to move forward with a retrial, will it be with the same judge? I know it's Massachusetts and it's criminal, but
The
how does that
judges-
normally work?
Judges usually assigned just at random.
Okay.
It's not going to necessarily be the same judge at all. No.
Oh, okay.
I'd be surprised if it was.
Where do you, in just your opinion, Bob, with everything that's come out since the mistrial, do you think there is a retrial?
I would expect there's going to be a retrial because I think that the prosecution is going to be in a difficult position of saying, okay, we know we have a case that's weak in some areas by virtue of what appears to be defective police work in trying to identify the defendant, the individual who may have been responsible for the death of the police officer. But I don't think the prosecution is going to just say, well, we're going to go home and not do anything further. I expect that they will bring the charges back again.
So we go through this one more time, possibly.
But I think the prosecution is going to have a different strategy on how they construct the case. They're probably not going to be relying on the testimony of the individual whose testimony was so severely damaged in the first trial.
So they won't use it at all, you think?
I think
they'd
they
be
will.
silly to.
I think they will use as little of that as they need to,
Right.
and base much
Go
more
with
of
something
the
else.
If they bring it
trial
up,
on-
it's only so they can bring up something else more.
right.
Fascinating, though, huh?
Yes, it is. Although I didn't follow it the first time around,
Well,
so
maybe
I
you will the second time.
I-
Second time around, if they
I
do it.
didn't know that they didn't report out all three votes. I didn't know that.
I think
I
they
knew that
just-
there was going to be separate votes on each count, and that there's a form that the foreman will fill out with the result of the vote on each count, and give that to the bailiff. The bailiff gives it to the judge. I presumed that that happened this time. So when I heard some of the people saying, the jurors actually speaking for, he said, "Yeah, but we acquitted her of that. We acquitted her of the second one too." I said to myself, "Well, this doesn't look good for the judge." But now you have information that I didn't have, because I know what's supposed to happen, and I presumed that it did. Now you say that it was a unilateral, we can't decide.
I believe
It
that was
wasn't
what-
broken down with the proper
count.
forms.
Now, if I thought from what I had read in the media that the jury just came back with a blanket statement that said that we're deadlocked. If the jury
That's
had
all that
come
was
back
reported,
and
yeah.
said,
If
okay,
that was,
we have
that was the case and the judge didn't inquire, I still suspect the judge of not doing their job right. I mean, that's the first thing I would want to know. You're going back to make 3 decisions.
Yeah, you deadlocked on
Well,
all
we
three,
can't.
or-
We can't decide. We can't be unanimous. We'll never be unanimous. Forget about it, Judge. Well, okay, fine. What can you agree on would be my next comment. What can you agree on? And there's no evidence that came to my eyes that she ever asked that question. And so I jumped to the conclusion that the judge is part of the fix here. Now,
I
that's
would not
I
agree
suppose
with
that's
that.
unfair of me, but all I have to go on is what meets me, and of course I saw such really, I think, uncalled for roughness, which I described as viciousness by on the part of the prosecution questioning a witness that I personally looked at on pay cable TV. When I add all that together, I found it easy to jump to the conclusion that the judge was not doing their job right.
well,
And-
having
and
not
having
followed,
been a jury foreman on a multiple count case before, I know what the jury foreman's supposed to be doing,
Well, let
and
Bob
I know that there's a form.
Let Bob respond.
having not followed this particular case to the degree that you did, I don't. If the jury comes back and says we're deadlocked, we just can't agree.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that it's the judge's responsibility to say, well, what can you agree upon? Because
You know,
they.
I would have thought so. We disagree there.
Okay. Well, we'll find out because I'm sure it's going to go up on appeal, and
I don't think that mistake would have been made again. In fact, I'm not so sure if I was the prosecutor that I'd want to retry on all 3 counts in the same trial again.
They might not.
They may split,
Split,
or
yeah.
they may choose just to go after one.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll split. But I think they could just go after one
count.
particular charge. Right.
All right, we're going to take a break here in the Coffee and program, so it's time, Bob, for a second message from the Bob Lauder Law Office.
Thank you. The second message I'd like to bring you this morning involves a case called State versus De Los Santos, and it deals with the prudence of retaining and cooperating with your own legal counsel. In the De Los Santos case, the defendant was charged with several felony crimes, including assault with a dangerous weapon. On the first day of the trial, the defendant, who was represented by counsel, was asked if he chose to accept an offer of the Attorney General's office on a plea agreement. The trial judge told the defendant of the possible penalties if he was convicted of the crimes at the trial, and the defendant personally told the trial judge that he did not want to accept the offer. The trial began, and during the first 2.5 days, the prosecution presented witnesses who testified as to the facts of the incident resulting in the charges against the defendant. After the prosecution rested its case, the trial judge asked the defendant if he wanted to testify. The defendant said that he hadn't had time to come to an agreement to testify, and he wanted a continuance. The trial judge listed the delays the defendant had caused up until that time, and granted the defendant 10 minutes to discuss the case with his lawyer. When the defendant returned to the courtroom, he still didn't know whether or not he wanted to testify, but he told the judge he wanted to fire his attorney. The judge told him that he had the right to do that, but the defendant would not have additional time to get a new attorney. He'd have to represent himself and use the same standards as an attorney. After discussion between the defendant and the judge, wherein the judge told the defendant he thought the decision of representing himself was a bad decision, the judge permitted the defendant to fire the attorney. The defendant decided to testify on his own behalf, and subsequently a jury found him guilty of the charges. The defendant took an appeal, with an attorney this time, representing him in the Supreme Court. The defendant argued that the trial judge should never have allowed him to fire his attorney partway through a trial, and that as a result, the decision and his subsequent conviction should be overturned. The Supreme Court ruled that a trial justice may make a decision as to whether or not a defendant's waiver of his or her Sixth Amendment right to counsel is knowingly and voluntarily and intelligent. And in this case, even though the decision was made by the defendant to fire his counsel partway through the trial was unusual, the court found that the trial justice made the defendant aware of the difficulties in representing himself, and that the defendant's decision would be unwise, and the defendant knowingly decided to represent himself. The conviction was upheld. If you'd like to discuss legal matters with me, please contact my office for an appointment. My name is Bob Lauder. My telephone number is 762-4550. And the disclaimer: the Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license or certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice. Thank you.
Yeah, gee, I agree with that one too, Bob.
Hot
I
dog.
think, the conviction should be upheld because you're not that smart enough or you're that dumb enough to fire your attorney.
Partway through the trial.
It's just not. You're just not thinking very well. So, alrighty. So we're gonna take a break here on the Coffee and program, and more coming your way. Stick around.
Seasonal allergies got you down? The Honey Shop has a solution. Breathe. It's the all-natural cold and allergy remedy made right here in Woonsocket. Or perhaps you have sleep problems, arthritis, or some other ailment that you're looking for a natural solution. The Honey Shop is also starting classes again. So if you're looking to learn something new, stop by 1300 Park Avenue in Woonsocket near Park Square, or give them a call at 401-766-1488. The Honey Shop.
Join the St. Anotson Cultural Center for Christmas in July at Cellos in Woonsocket on July 14th. Cellos will be decorated in summer Christmas decor, and Santa will be there for pictures with the family. Cellos will donate up to 20% of your check to the center. Everyone who participates will be entered to win several prizes, including tickets to the Polar Express train ride. A certificate is needed to participate and can be picked up at Belo's Flowers, Creative Impressions, The Honey Shop, Little General on Cumberland Hill Road, Missy's Family Restaurant, Pine Swamp Place, Timeless Antiques, Vaux's True Value Hardware, or visit the St. Anotson Cultural Center website.
You can depend on us for public service, ON Radio.
Here we are on Coffee and thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here, along with Dave Richards and Bob Lauder. And we'll have to see if Bob agrees on this one.
Not politics, right?
No. Do you agree with Attorney General Peter Nerona? He's filed an emergency injunction to shut down operations of the Rhode Island Recycled Metals after a July 12th hearing. This is where they just had a fire, their second fire of scrap metal. They were off Allens Avenue in Providence. And I understand it's been really hot, and the sun is beating down like crazy, and scrap metal gets really, really hot in the summertime. So, yeah, I guess it could have sparked a fire.
Yeah. But Joe, there's a history here.
Or what? That's right. There is a history.
There's a history of previous fires.
Yeah.
They have had. Now, I'm not up on the exact wording of this, but so I'm going to speak in generalities. They had been assigned a special master to review their practices for safety, for the staff, for the public, and all the rest of that sort of thing. And they continue to have incidents where public safety is involved. The fire department comes and puts out fires and stuff like that. And so they want this company to be put into the hands of a receiver who can make bigger decisions than a special master can. And in the with the aim at making sure that either the processes are safe or the company goes away.
Thoughts, Bob?
I think Dave gave a very good summary of it, and I think Attorney General Arona is right. If he hasn't taken this action and there's another incident and there's more damages involved to surrounding neighborhoods or to firemen, I think there'd be a lot of criticism as to why he hadn't done so.
They do say it's an ongoing environmental nuisance as well as a public safety.
Well, yeah,
hazard,
it's also an historically accepted environmental situation there, in as much as that type of activity has been going on in that neighborhood for longer than anybody's lived in the neighborhood.
I don't think anyone lives down
It's
that way.
historical. Well,
it's
it's
any
right on the
homes.
edge. I mean, okay, it's between the water and Allen's
Yeah.
Avenue. On the other side of Allen's Avenue, people live.
Okay, all right.
So, yes, it's still a neighborhood and like that. And you worry about when things catch fire, then caustic and
Well, sure, there's
toxic
smoke.
things
Oh, yeah.
burn, and then smoke leaves the property. And depending on whatever wind prevails that day, it will attack human beings outside the property. So this is a big concern of theirs. It's a tough thing. Also, in our news story, it indicated that when the reporters asked the governor, he acknowledged that he knew of the situation and agreed with the attorney general's actions.
Okay. So this seems to be the new thing, Bob, now, around the nation. It's not happening around here. We had the story yesterday, but we thought it was just contained to 2 cities in Alabama.
Nope.
Apparently,
Alabama.
yes, but
Okay.
apparently, no. Ammunition vending machines are popping up.
What?
Ammunition vending machines have popped up two towns in Alabama, but they're also popping up in Oklahoma, Florida, and Colorado. And so, it's like a big refrigerator. It's like a big Coke machine, okay?
I can't buy cigarettes out of a vending machine, but I can buy ammunition.
However, you must
No.
you must be 21.
Right.
You have to show a photo ID so AI can check you for facial recognition.
Right. You hold it up to a screen, it scans your photo ID, and it compares the picture on your photo ID with the picture of you that it's taking in the machine of you applying to buy this stuff.
Okay. I can't buy a pack of Marlboros because they're a danger to me.
Oh, yeah.
But I can buy ammunition which I could use in any indiscriminate manner because I don't
You could use
have
it
to
right
be
there.
licensed to carry a weapon.
You could use it right there in the store.
Okay. I think that's
What could go wrong, huh? And
Jeez.
it's just one company, a company called American Rounds. I've been installing these in different states.
I
just
would
to see.
imagine that they're not going to remain the sole purveyor of these.
Oh no, especially if it's selling and people are using it, other companies will pop up and say, "Hey, we want to get in on this."
No,
I'm like, wow.
I disagree a lot with the way that gun laws are being enacted nowadays. Especially
But this
the
isn't guns. This is ammunition. Is there a difference?
well, you need in order to have a gun operate, you have to have ammunition to put into it,
Well,
unless you
that's
plan
right.
to club the person over the head with it.
I'm gonna throw it at somebody like they do in the movies.
But when they talk about not requiring licenses any longer or any kind of training in the use of the weapons, I've used this phrase before. I can only imagine my mother walking down Main Street carrying a .45 in her pocketbook. I mean, she would have been more dangerous to herself than to anybody around her. That's not what you want to have happening.
I was telling Dave, when we were reading about this story, what's to stop someone from using your ID and using your facial ID and getting your ammunition, but then giving it to the 10-year-old child that's standing right next to you?
It'd be 12.
12-year-old child standing right next to you.
Why would they have to be 12? I
I don't know.
10-year-old is.
That's about when you get your first gun.
Yeah. So,
Oh,
but what's to stop you from doing that?
I didn't get my first gun until I was in the military.
Yeah, well, that's a different matter.
All right.
But they didn't let me take it home either.
All right. The Alec Baldwin involuntary manslaughter trial is going on
Yes.
out there in New Mexico, and I guess they're saying it has something to do with the hammer on the gun, saying.
Well, that's one of the defenses they're raising, that
Yeah.
he didn't knowingly fire the weapon. But even if he had knowingly fired the weapon, I don't know how you establish that he was guilty of the manslaughter, because I think in manslaughter you have to have some knowledge or awareness that what you are doing is a danger to other people. And the only ammunition I've ever seen is been live ammunition, and I can identify what we used to use in the Army weapons that I had years ago, and I can identify live ammunition for a 38 or a 45. I don't know what the appearance difference is between live rounds and non-live rounds.
But I think in this case, from what I've heard, the prosecution is saying in order for the gun to fire, the gun had to be cocked.
Okay.
And now they're saying Alec Baldwin actually did that when he shouldn't have done that.
Why should he not have done it? Why should he have been aware that this weapon had live rounds instead of blanks? And if there's no physical difference between a live round and a blank, even if Alec Baldwin had looked at the weapon and seen the ammunition that it was loaded with, how would he have not known that this was a blank round? And in actually filming the scene, I would imagine that they want to have him appear to fire the weapon. And if the weapon is loaded with blanks and he fires it, then there's no crime. It's loaded with live ammunition and he fires it, then there's the death of the individual. But did he know that the difference? Could he determine that this was a live round? Was he negligent in failing to look at the weapon and identify that it had live rounds in it? I don't know if there's a difference between the two.
I don't either. So
Okay.
I do.
You
All
do?
right.
Great. What is there a physical appearance difference?
Oh, yeah.
How does what's a,
The ammunition, well, the ammunition, a live round has a bullet in it, right there on the tip. And a blank does not have a bullet on it. There's wadding inside the breech of the bullet casing.
but it's already in the gun, so would you be able to see that?
And so, if you take the gun, let's suppose you're really stupid, and point it at you so you can see into the cartridge housings that are not not obstructed by the barrel, you can see if it's wadding, and sometimes it's colored wadding so it doesn't show up as like white wadding. They will color it so that you can't see this. But you can see if there is a shiny bullet there. If you ever see a picture of an old Western gun, and that's what they were
A
using as
revolver,
an old
yes,
right.
right.
There are the open
chamber,
chambers that aren't where the barrel is, and you can see that there is a bullet there. But what you always did, and Joe, I mentioned this to you today, so forgive me for being redundant in your case, that when a property mistress would hand me, this happened one time, I had an unloaded actual gun, a .357 Magnum that I had as I played a part in a show, a stage show. The property mistress handed it to me. Before they did, they opened it. They saw that it was not loaded. They handed it to me. My duty was, and how I was trained, open it again in front of her, so we both saw each other open it. We both determined and showed each other that it was empty. And then I never put it down unless it was on stage during the show, but I always holstered it or had it in my possession so no one else could touch it for the entire scene or rehearsal or whatever. And then we reversed the process when I gave it back to them at the end of rehearsal.
When you fire a revolver that has a blank cartridge in
Right.
it, do you still have the impression of smoke extending out of the barrel?
More so,
Okay. So that,
because the wadding also goes.
all right.
But it
So
usually happens so fast the camera doesn't catch it. People who are standing there can tell it's a blank if they're looking at it and they're perceptive. But a camera doesn't really detect that it's a blank or a real bullet.
But the camera would see the image of the smoke emerging from the barrel of the gun.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you were filming a fight scene, or
Especially if it was period piece, by the way. Period piece in the old days, and there's a compromise that's done in filming. In the old days, when you shot a bullet, there was a lot of gun smoke.
okay,
And sometimes it would obscure what the camera wanted to see. So they started using more smokeless. Smokeless stuff is used universally these days. But back in the day when this was supposed to have happened, there was a lot of smoke left over from your guns.
so in filming this particular scene, which I guess takes place in the 1870s,
Right.
the cameraman is wanting to see the smoke emerging from the barrel after the gun has been fired.
Right.
So it would be normal to expect that in filming this scene, the weapon that was in Baldwin's hand would be loaded with some type of ammunition
Right.
to create that smoke coming from the barrel, that they could show it was authentic.
Sure.
All right. So then you're saying it's a question of whether or not Baldwin looked at the weapon and could determine in looking at it that it was loaded with
Yeah.
real cartridges
And-
as
and-
opposed to blanks.
Like I said, you could, but you wouldn't ever point it at yourself. You would open the cylinder and see that they were blanks.
And in describing the precautions that were taken when you were involved in that
Yeah.
theatrical production, is it the responsibility of the actor to go through that procedure, or to rely upon the prop director who says, "Okay, Mr. Baldwin, here's the weapon, just use it"?
Both are equally responsible, is how I was taught. The actor, anyone who touches the gun is responsible for what it does. Totally. The prop mistress is responsible. In this case, Brenda Long gave me the gun.
and the
I gave it
performer.
back to her. While I had it, I was totally responsible for that gun.
Okay, I can see where the prosecution is going to be coming then from
And this
your,
is community
your point
theater.
of view.
They're professionals. They should have these standards.
All right, we go.
Okay.
One more story before we got to run, because we had the snake story yesterday. The guy that was trying to smuggle in the 100 snakes in his pants from Hong Kong to China.
Yes.
But back here in the States, police in Minneapolis came to the rescue after someone left their boa constrictor in the back seat of an Uber in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. Cops were called after the driver found the large snake in the car. A video posted to the police department's Facebook page shows an officer holding the slithery suspect believed to be someone's pet. They could not reach the owner. Officials said no officers, divers, drivers, passengers, or snakes were harmed during the incident. They left their snake in the car. Which
Now,
happens.
if you're the Uber driver,
Yeah,
do you charge
extra.
extra for having the snake
Extra
in the vehicle?
passenger.
I,
Or do you charge like baggage?
Ubers don't work that way. Ubers just work when you call for an Uber. It just says how many passengers am I picking up? 1, 2, 3, 4.
And now they go and divide the
now
fare.
Now they'll have to ask
How many snakes
how
you
many
bring?
snakes or how many pets are coming as well. So. All right, that'll do it for the show for today. Thank you very much for listening in. It's always appreciated. Thanks to Mayor Chris Beauchamp, who was here earlier today.
Thank you,
Dave,
Mayor.
Thanks for coming in, Dave.
Yeah, great to be here with good friends.
All right, and Bob Lauder, thanks for coming in.
thank you for inviting me. Hope to be with you next week.
All right, this is Joe Callahan. Have yourself a fantastic
And we
day.
missed Sue.
Yes, Sue
We
should
do,
be with us
yes.
next week. And stay tuned for Gary Smith and the crew. Do you remember at 9:30 here on ON Radio.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now, the news. Attorney